Hi. A few years ago we did a video where we placed a couple of jet engines or electric ducted fans on the back of an old Marin road bike. It was a fun project. We've played around with it for a few years and we've driven it all over the place, and we've gotten a lot of attention, especially when we'd go through small towns or pass a group of people standing by the side of the road. And so because of that, we decided to kick things up a notch and build this. To get additional power, what I did is I went over to Harbor Freight and I picked up one of their new 224cc single-cylinder engines for about $150. And then on the back of the engine, I mounted a 4-bladed 0.75 meter or 30-inch diameter carbon fiber propeller directly onto the output shaft of the engine. This is the same propeller that we showed you how to build a few years ago when we showed you how to build the big drone rotors yourself. This direct drive propeller then is protected by this screen, which I repurposed from a large industrial pedestal fan that we had sitting here in the warehouse and constructed this power pack. What's nice about this particular setup here is that by mounting it on the back of a recumbent tricycle, this is a Sunseeker recumbent trike, we get the additional stability of the two wheels in the back. And we also get a much more aerodynamic shape because the passenger, or the biker, is sitting in a recumbent position as opposed to a vertical position, producing a much lower silhouette to the oncoming rushing air. This thing is really, really fast. Now, one of the good things about this type of a drive system is the fact that it's independent of the transmission system. So you could place this on anything that can be propelled by thrust. You could put it on a bike, you could put it on a sled, you could put it on an airboat. It is not the most efficient way to drive things. If you got an e-bike, for example, it's far more efficient than this kind of drive system. And it's much quieter. When you use this thing and you're roaring past somebody, it sounds like a P-51 racer. And it's a beautiful thing because as you're rushing past, you get a lot of looks and you get a really good Doppler effect as you're passing the camera. The other nice thing about this sort of a setup is the fact that we could have placed this on just a go-kart, just something to move around. But we decided to use the bicycle for a couple of reasons. One is it has a higher ground clearance, and this allows us to drive off-road and up trails. And in addition, whether you put this on a go-kart or you put it on a bicycle, it's not road legal. But because of the fact that we can turn this off and we can actually ride this like a bicycle, we can bring this a couple of miles along the road, treating it like a bicycle, so we don't need to put this on a trailer to get us to some place where we're going to be able to ride it. And the other advantage of having the pedal is a dual power source. If we're riding off-road and we come to a really steep hill, it's really going to flag the bike rider as they're trying to pedal up the hill. And it might be too much for the thrust of the drive system to overcome, but when we combine both, we can go up some pretty steep inclines. At the same time, we get a lot of speed on the flats, and this thing is really, really fast. Now, getting the thing started is very simple. I'm going to bring it out here so that we don't blow all the stock in the warehouse around. But we have a 21-speed bike with 3 front gears, 7 rear gears. We have rear brakes and front brakes, including a brake lock that allows us to get the thing started. We also have a thumb-controlled throttle that allows us to adjust the speed of the engine, and a little tachometer down here that reads the output speed of the engine. We get up to about 4,100 RPM in this current setup. And finally, getting this thing started is really, really simple. So there's the fuel tank down there. And then because we took the big fuel tank that sits right behind your head, which probably is not a good idea, we put the fuel tank down there, and then we have one of these little bulbs so you can pump the fuel up into the engine. And it has one of these things called a pulse pump. It takes the vacuum that's created inside the crankcase. Every time the piston moves out, it makes a little vacuum, and that operates a little diaphragm. And that diaphragm with a one-way valve kind of goes pump, 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 pump each time it pistons. That sends it into the carburetor. So we start up the engine, and then we measure the RPM here. We're going to put a phone here, but we haven't done that yet.
Yep.
The phone just gives us the ability to measure the speed. So we just get the thing started, and we run it up, and we're going to see what happens here. So what do you think? Should I mess with it?
Yeah, I would go for it. Yeah.
All right. So I'll open the fuel tank. That's this thing down here. And just for safety, probably not good to stand here, like right here. If things went absolutely, yes, right, exactly. Okay, and then fuel open here, like that, for start, and then on. All right, then one nice thing about these things is they have a brake so that when you get it on idle, it doesn't push forward. Yeah.
Do you want to rotate it, maybe?
You mean that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Probably the wrong way to start.
So like I said, that's probably not a good place to stand. I've tested this a lot of times, but the blade is pretty fast.
Yeah.
So just for safety. So let's see what happens here. Okay, you ready? Let's see if it gets started. Got fuel in there.
At first, I pushed the lever forward ever so slightly, and the laboratory grew faint around me.
That's awesome.
So, first impressions?
One of the coolest things I've seen.
Oh, that's okay, cool.
It's awesome.
And obviously, we saw you driving the bike around there, and that's like way easier to start up and probably not as dangerous, but maybe not
cool.
quite as unique.
Not
I guess
as cool,
like I have
not
the
as
dirt
cool.
bike in there. It's not quite as.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like that. Never.
Here he comes.
Looks pretty well too.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be sluggish.
it doesn't speed up fast, but it keeps going. It's like it doesn't seem to want to stop going faster. And I barely got the thing running.
Yeah, what throttle, like percentage-wise, do you think you got to?
I got to full, but only for 3 or 4 seconds.
Oh, okay.
One thing you have to be careful with is that, unlike a regular bike, you lean into the turn. A trike, you can't. So when you turn, you can tip. So you got to kind of slow down and actually lean into the turn to keep your weight off that wheel.
Have you ever seen, it's an old movie, so maybe not, but have you ever seen the movie called Time Machine, 1960s?
I've heard of it, never seen it though.
If you look it up, it's an old, cheesy movie, bad special effects and everything, but the time machine that he makes looks almost identical to that. So if you look that up, it looks,
That's cool.
Yeah. So you said that you work at this place doing you said the foam thing for...
Yeah, we make defoamers, anything, car products, coatings like undercoating for trucks, cars.
Right, okay.
Roof coatings. We're working on a weed killer right now that's going through the EPA, but...
Oh, okay. It's not approved yet.
It's not approved yet, but it's not like Roundup, where they have, all these lawsuits.
Regulations and stuff. Yeah. Right.
I use it, and I've gotten it in my cuts, in my eyes, my mouth, and it's totally harmless.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're going for, is ineffective but harmless to people.
Right, okay.
Weed killer, something that's not going to kill you, that's just only going to kill weeds. But
right.
It's also great for farmers because once it kills the weeds, it forms nitrogen, which is good for,
Sure, right,
crops.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
They can use that, and then it'll act as fertilizer afterwards, so...
Yeah.
That's what's very cool about it.
Yeah, very cool.
That thing's so sweet.
This is really weird. The weirdest thing is it accelerates like a cow, but it doesn't stop accelerating. Like you keep going
Once you get going, you're kind of screwed.
Well, no, what it means is like when you're getting to as fast as you want to go, it's still going just as much faster each second. So it just doesn't stop accelerating. It's spooky. Want to try it?
Oh, come on. You gotta.
Yeah, I'll try
You don't
it.
have to go fast. Just kind of go a little slow. It's not
And
bad.
the thing I learned, even though when I tested it, I haven't tested it with the engine on. He just finished it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned was the tipping is a real issue. So when you turn, just super gradual.
Super slow.
Yeah,
Slow
and
down. Let the thing go to idle. Let it go to idle. Brake it to like 8 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's much better to kind of creep up on what would tip it, because if it tipped it, you're the thing that gets hit.
Yeah, true.
So go real slow.
And just don't turn like at a big angle. Never. Just slight,
And when you're
slight
turning,
gradual turns.
If you're leaning, lean into the turn so that your weight's, because it wants to do this.
If you're turning that way.
Right. So if I'm
So
going
you
like
want to lean actually like kind of.
like you get forced to the outside of a turn. Okay. Your body wants to go out, but the bike needs you to go in. So when you turn, you kind of like put your butt over.
Okay.
Going straight's cool.
Yeah. My question is how, if you had like 8 miles just to go, how fast could you get?
I have no idea. And see, the thing is, this is part 1.
Yeah.
Part 2, we're going to collaborate with an engine rebuilder and have them soup this up to about 22 horsepower. And then put a better fan on the back. And that, it's already too spooky. You'll see what I mean when you start going a little bit.
Yeah.
You'll be like, okay,
This is.
maybe you don't want it any more powerful.
And you showed him the throttle, the brakes, all that, or
I'll show him when it's running. He'll see it.
after the fact.
Okay. Brakes are on. Throttle. Like that. This is just a brake lock. This is RPM. You don't really need to know that. It goes to about 33, but you just use your ears. Yeah, that Get on it and see what happens. This
Well,
was
this-
a good place to do this because after hours there's really no traffic here and it's super flat. I found when I
Right.
was testing it around the house with the divots,
Yeah.
the
bumps
that
and
screen
stuff.
still needs a little bit of stability.
Yeah, I noticed it was rattling when you first
Yeah, even though I've
turned
got
it on. Yeah.
those stabilization bars on it,
Yeah.
they're a little,
Flunky.
a
Yeah.
little.
I'm glad we found this guy impromptu. It took about 5 seconds and he's already riding it.
It's pretty weird, isn't it?
It just keeps going.
That's the thing.
On going. That's crazy.
You think she wants to try?
Oh,
Or is she kind of nervous?
she'll probably be pretty nervous, but that thing just keeps on going.
So what do you think first, like, try? Keeps going.
It keeps going, yeah. So, I mean, if you had a mile, or
Yeah.
if you could take it to a drag strip, I mean, you could probably get that thing to, what do you think, like
I have no idea.
40 something? I mean, it has
Yeah, I
the
mean,
governor.
probably.
It has a governor for like 300 RPMs, but if you go in there and you rip it out, and you can rev up to 9,000 RPM,
Sure, right.
there's no, I mean, there's pretty much no limit on the top speed. The only limit is how far you can actually go.
Far, you mean
Like-
fuel-wise, or what do you mean far?
Far, like, if you have like 2 miles, like,
Oh, you mean distance of,
Yeah,
of
distance,
road.
distance.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so drag strip. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
yeah, it would be interesting.
Yeah, you wouldn't beat anything off the line, but afterwards you're
Yeah,
going
maybe.
300 miles an hour. You just put wings on the thing and you take off.
Yeah.
You know, well, almost like those the paragliders. They have like
Yeah.
a similar setup almost, but
Yeah.
just strapped on their back,
Right.
or a trike. Yeah.
That is truly awesome, though.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Glad you like it.
Oh yeah.
First time testing it, so you're
Yeah.
you're a good test subject.
yeah, the guinea pig.
Yeah, right. Glad he tested it first though, because if the blade ripped off
you
and
never- you
cut
never
your
know.
neck off, it's like, yeah.
It's a heck of a lot of fun. And we're going to do a second part to this video. On a very quiet Sunday when there's no traffic around, we're going to do some high-speed tests. This thing can really move. In addition, for all of you engineering types, I'm going to dig deep into the design and the engineering and the mounting of the propeller, motor, drive system, so that if you want to reproduce what we're doing, you'll be able to do it. In any case, stay safe, happy trails, and we'll see you soon.